Good evening, good evening, good evening. It is 8 o'clock on the East Coast, 7 o'clock on the Central. So glad that you're joining me today. So good to see all of you. Come on in the room, come on in the room, come on in the room. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, Patty, hey, hey. Come on in. It's your host, it's your love, it's your beloved, the wonderful, neighborhood friendly, whatever you want to call me, not Spider-Man, but the ethical evangelist, J Exodus Hooper. Wonderful to have all of you. Hey, sexy, good stuff. I don't know what your week has brought you. I don't know what your weekend has brought you, but I just want to tap on you today. Just spare some time with you, spend a little time with your loved one, you in the process called life. You know how we do. High five somebody, say, you are way more than enough, so go ahead. Do what you love right now. Go ahead, do what you love. If you haven't had a chance to get back to it, get reacquainted, come on. Look, click like, click share, click like and share. Share this good news with somebody. Share this love work with somebody. Share this process of growing together with somebody. With somebody. I am so glad to have all of you. Good evening. It is so wonderful to see all of your beautiful faces. I know a lot of us have been extremely busy. There's been a lot going on. There's been a lot happening. I hope that many of you are practicing so much, of course, back to a little bit of mask wearing more often. Okay, so keep it on, keep it on, keep it on. We got some new stuff out there, and we want to protect ourselves. And I know people are like, no, I'm not ready for all of that. But I just want to say, we might need this. Okay, we're gonna need this. So keep this in your back pocket. I keep mine in my back pocket. Okay, and we still want to enjoy life, but we also got to protect folk. Okay, so let's make sure that we're doing that work. I just want to encourage us to get back to a little bit of that with Delta on, operating and some other little COVID strands. There's a lot of stuff that's out there, and we got to protect our kids. They're not vaccinated yet, and we've already lost a 4-year-old at one point while I was heard from the news at some point. So I just want us to be very, very mindful. We've got youth. We've got some youth, and a lot of them cannot be vaccinated. So let's love ourselves in the process and love our young people. Also, I think if anything, there's been a lot of good news. So yes, as some of you saw, just a really quick announcement there. We are going to be there will be a defense. The defense is coming about. So if you haven't, mark your calendar. We've got a defense coming up, and that will be, I believe, next week. OMG. Whoa. Thursday at 11 a.m. So I hope that you will have a chance to tune in, sharing some of that magic with me. Get a chance to see at least the opening of it, of the presentation. And so we're working on right now, me and Justice, my lovely one, always making sure that the communication is right. Let me tell you something. The power of nurturing through technology is definitely prophetic, and it is powerful. So I'm really excited to have her working on this and working behind the scenes to, kind of make sure that, we in many ways can offer offer it, but it won't be on Keep Living. So we'll talk about what that looks like. So don't you worry. I got you. I see you. I got a lot of people who are rooting for me, and I want to make sure that your roots are seen. And that brings me into to a little bit of our topic today. A little bit of our topic today is the roots. The roots we don't see. The roots we don't see. This conversation could go several places, so I want you to stay with me. Stay with me as I journey for a bit with this, because I had the wonderful opportunity to, for the past few weeks, be in Susquehanna. So last time I was on the show, I was in a backyard somewhat with this very wonderful manicured lawn. Truly, Mike Arduini is amazing, who I also call Pop. The landscaping is stunning. And I was in Central PA, and so today, of course, you see, of course, one of my creative little things that happen here when we take pianos and we start flipping them. But I had the opportunity to be there for 3 weeks. Really enjoy, and I just want to shout out that we are doing some amazing stuff. If you have not checked out, we're doing some amazing stuff at Susquehanna Valley Ethical Society, where I am the leader of, and I'm going to ask Mom, Pop, and see if they can you put in the chat the website, if you can, or if Justice can find it, just so people can start clicking, because we are doing some amazing stuff in Central Pennsylvania, which is often a kind of a working class. It's a working class city, and it's and Susquehanna is really a beautiful place. But I'm so grateful to see the work that we're doing out there with getting young people involved, with getting not only getting young people involved, but also bringing our community together from all walks of life. And I am excited to many ways be a part of that process, and be their clergy person. Yes, in many ways, if you don't know what clergy is, a pastor or whatever have you. But I'm there to serve people. I'm there to serve people, and to make sure that we facilitate growth. Thank you. And I really am grateful there. We are also starting an education program. So I'm really thrilled, because when you wonder what I'm doing other than the show, I am out trying to work out community work, and I'm trying to serve those who really want to not only change their community, but who are really interested in ethical transformations that honestly almost seem inconceivable, because they are rooted deeply in the heart of a person, and not just in strategic planning. We get to that part, but a lot of our stuff has to be within the heart, which makes me go back to the root, of where we are. And I've been sitting with this idea of going back to the roots, When I was walking one day in Susquehanna, I had a very interesting opportunity to scope out, and believe it or not, it's probably one of my favorite places to go. I love to go to graveyards. I know you're probably like, oh, that's strange, weird. I do. I really enjoy, if I see a cemetery, I'm not really unnerved. I really find the layout sometimes to be quite tranquil. I find I'm very interested in sometimes the mausoleums. I am drawn to this very cycle of life that honestly most people would say is the end, and some would identify as maybe there being an afterlife after. I just sit with in many ways the fact that it is an undisturbed, in some cases, undisturbed area, depending on the cemetery. But I don't think I don't shy away from it, I'll say. And one of the things that I was walking through the cemetery recently, and I saw these mausoleums, and I was like, oh, I've got to check these out. And I walk up the hill, and I go up this hill, and then I kind of come around, and there's two already like in the front of another mausoleum. So they're sitting on top of the hill. So if you can imagine, when my hand is here, then there's another one. And they sit up when they are, and you can just kind of, they're gated and things. But then there were these two mausoleums that sat in the cleft, kind of like right wedged. They were really, really wedged into this kind of hill-like formation and all these rocks. And I was fascinated to see how the roots had, in many ways, kind of grabbed this mausoleum. It was holding it tightly, and I mean, it also, had misshapen a bit of the bricks. And you're probably wondering, where are you going with this? Stay with me on this. I was looking, if I can, physically, I was seeing a space where, quote, the dead rest, or those who have transitioned. And I'm looking at this mausoleum, and I'm seeing the roots, and I'm seeing how they are latching, and in many ways latching to the ground around the mausoleum, but in many ways breaking parts of the mausoleum. I want you to just kind of imagine with me for a minute this mausoleum and then the roots. Now, I'm going to take this image, and then I want us to think about the fact that roots are constantly seeking out ways to nurture and feed themselves. That's what plants do. Their roots go out into the earth to nourish themselves, and watch this, make themselves also not only nourish themselves, but stabilize, right? This is a tree. This is not just no regular roots. This is like straight up a tree going through the mausoleum. And watch this. Watch what happens. The roots get underneath the stone structure and start breaking away at the stone structure to find life. So there is this moment where what appears as dead space, the roots go by and go and seek out life. Life as a sustainable practice. Life as a nurturing practice. Life that in many ways moves beyond what is no longer and reaches for its most accessible, most necessary, most available way to survive. These roots need to survive. They need to be fed, and they've got to go past and break through that which is dead in order to get into the ground to feed itself. So here it is. There's the image. There is the metaphor. Now you're like, well, what has that got to do with me? Well, a lot of times there are dead things in our way. There are dead things just in our way. I'll just leave it like that. Maybe you've got a dream buster. Maybe you've got some folk that are not useful around you. Maybe you don't have, because they're not able to in many ways aid in your vision. You know, I know for me, I like to be around life-giving folk. I like to be around folk that are not stuck in their ways. I like to be around folk that don't have no problem breaking up the soil so that there is life in it. Some of y'all may know what that feels like. I like being around folk that can look beyond the structures and in many ways find new ways of going and navigating and maneuvering around those structures to get to the life source. Look, open-minded people. Thank you. That's exactly right. Open-minded people, open-hearted people. I don't want like-minded as much as I probably need you to be open-minded, because when I am doing some root working, real root working requires an openness. And you've got to be able to open up the ground so that you can get into that place where you find something of substance to sustain you. So after a while, you keep investing yourself in the grounds that are dead, that are made for the dead. A lot of times we do that. And then we wonder why we hit brick walls. We wonder why people are scared to go with our vision. We are wondering why people can't even make ways out. You can be told no so many times. And there's a great book called No's 1,000 Times. It's for kids. I guarantee you, just go check out that book. The dead spaces will a lot of times have a lot of no's. And the no's feel like dead spaces. And they feel like dry. They feel the soil of them. They don't even nourish the soil. And you hit all of these different no's. No. And every time you've got an idea, you always are hitting a no. Every time you've got a new vision, it's a no. Every time you come up with a new proposal or a new plan, it's a no. And then you got to figure out how to skate your way around some of these no's. But can I just help you for a few seconds? Sometimes just rest with the no. Just like this tree couldn't move. And that no might feel dead at first. And if you get like the tree, I guarantee you this much, you'll start reaching around the very areas that look like no's. And you'll reach around the areas that look dead and look like they're unfertile and that there's no germination there. You'll look at those areas and then you'll figure out ways to maneuver. You'll run into somebody who is open-minded to what you're trying to bring. You'll run into some folk who are open-hearted, who want to hold space for who you are. You'll run into the people who are not just on open-minded and open-hearted, but they'll be open to just who you are as an act of healing. Because they want to see you flourish. And they know that if you don't get this vision accomplished, it's your life source. If you can just get to a place where you hold on to that no, all the 1,000 no's start taking a different shape. All those no's start taking shapes. Taking shape. Your idea might change a bit because you heard a different no. And then check this. It'll do something amazing. It'll take shape, and other people building and trying to find nourishment will start to collide. And that's what I started seeing at the cemetery. Some of the roots didn't belong to that tree. And the tree was able to find strength in wrapping itself with other trees. And some of us need to find that moment where we begin to wrap ourselves around others who may be stronger or wiser or have the know-how or know what to do. And it requires that we be vulnerable and we open up maybe on our, because we get, so let's just be real, we get a little nervous when people have already told us no. We don't know if everybody's going to be able to latch on, and we feel like they might break apart. We don't necessarily know if everybody is going to be down with what we're doing, but if we just latch on and open ourselves up enough, and we can hold close, just hold close to somebody else who's doing that root working. Find some folk that are doing the root working. Find some leaders that are doing root working. Work with somebody who's doing root working in the community. Get a friend that understands how to do root working, and get a colleague that knows how to help you think out that next paper or start that next business. Get a funder or an investor, or get the talking, because when you latch yourself on with some root workers, they're going to nourish you because they're open, just like you are. They're going to be open just like you are. And they're going to be able to hold you up when you feel like you can't hold yourself up. They're going to give you hard truth, but they're going to love you in the process. They're going to do this thing where they hold on to you, not because of what you offer, but because they know what it took for you to stand in the midst of the dead spaces. They'll hold you in the midst of the dead spaces. They'll break some of the mausoleums down in the space. They'll in many ways stand by you when the winds are a little rough and you don't know which direction to go. They'll be with you when the branches feel a little weak and you don't feel like you don't have the ability to hold it up any longer. The root workers meet you in the place where there's life, and they remind you that life is there, and they remind you that life is in your vision, and that life is nourishing, and that life is strategic, and that we as people, as humanity, as we work together, we got to start doing, when we're doing justice work, we start latching ourselves to root workers. You don't get into root working work. Hear me when I say this. You don't get into root working work unless you are willing to be absolutely, fearlessly vulnerable and realize what's at stake. Realizing what's at stake lets you know how deep you're going to go in with your roots. But you got to know what's at stake. You got to know your capacity. You got to know what you might end up shedding off. Not what you're giving up, but what you're going to shed off in the process. You might, and it's not going to, when you start shedding off stuff, it's not going to feel like a compromise. It's going to feel like good pruning on a plant. Because it's just going to let you know that you're going to be restored. And the process that you go through in pruning only strengthens, right, the area that is going to grow. It's going to strengthen that area of the next leaf. It's going to strengthen that area in which you didn't think about in your vision. It's going to strengthen the skill set that you didn't think you had, or that everybody else said you weren't ready for. It's going to strengthen the areas that you in many ways doubted yourself in, or that your mother said you couldn't do, or that your father said you couldn't do, or that other friends or people who actually don't know much about your journey and how you came through all of the pain and the anguish and all of the negativity. They're going to show up in ways to strengthen you. You're not losing when you're pruning. You're not losing when you're pruning. It's only just setting you up for the next place of vision. It's only setting you up for the next formation of transformation. I want us to get to a place where we begin to become root workers, where we lock ourselves into community, where we lock ourselves into healthy families, where we lock ourselves into frameworks for our youth, where we lock ourselves into finances that is strengthening our communities, that we lock ourselves into our joys that actually, you know how hard it is to find joy? Come on. If we lock ourselves in joy, if we lock ourselves in being life-giving and help others find that nourishment, we'll have stronger roots. We'll have a more solid ground. It'll feel natural. Because there's nothing breaking into or being constructed in the way of our life source. There's nothing getting in the way of feeding our vision. There's nothing getting in the way of germinating what has always been sitting in us. There's nothing getting in the way of what has in many ways been resting on our hearts. There's nothing getting in the way of what has been deep in the cavities of our mind that we have been scared to share. There is nothing in our way of the things that we're going to speak that may actually in many ways make us whole or help somebody else become free or transform or experience the very life and substance that you've been experiencing. All you got to do is be a root worker. It removes all the dead things because roots are going to find life the best way they can. Roots go and seek out life. They go and seek out nourishment. Yes, they go and seek out love. That's where roots go. That's why you got to change pots. Because the roots, at some point after being so tangled up, they need even their own space. And then they'll go keep on rooting out. Let's do some root working. Let's do some root working. Let's do some root working in Minneapolis. Let's do some root working today. Let's do some root working and all the way out in Susquehanna. Let's do some root working. I want to see some root workers in Virginia. I want to see root workers in New York. I want to see root workers. I'm tired of seeing politicians can't fix this. We got some root workers in this very space that can make that shift. We've got some people that can do that conversation and make it happen because we know how to get to the root of our own needs in our community. If we only listen and don't turn a dead ear, break into the ground and get to the substance that keeps you living. So excited to have all of you this evening. Sending you so many hugs. Justice. Let's give him something lovely. Do some working. You are way more than enough. Love yourself in the process, and may goodness and sexy follow you all the days of your life. So wonderful to see you. Rest well. Go through the week.